Hello, everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, all that good stuff. We have reached the end of our 2024 campaign here at Film Seizure. And, this time of year, sometimes you need something other than dead children.
Oh, God.
So I thought, you know what? You know who can really, really help us out here, and that's the Muppets. But not the Muppet movie you think we would talk about on Christmas Day.
Yeah. No.
But that's okay. We got to get the origin story through first, and then we can come back around in a future Christmas to their actual caroling. So yes, we're going to talk about the Muppet Movie, 1979, celebrating, 45 years, I guess. With me, as always, my two Muppets in space. Jason Oliver.
Hey, yeah, I was looking at all the Muppet stuff on the Disney Plus channel, and I was like, the best one's not here. My personal favorite is not most people's favorite, but
the Pepe Le Pew one.
I love Muppets in Space. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, fair enough. Yeah. You also heard there, Chuck Moore, Waka Waka. How's it going?
Waka Waka Waka. Hey, I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, this is going to be. I have a feeling we're not going to get too deep or serious. We're not going to be bringing up the language of fascism in this episode. But I will say,
happy holidays. That's our gift to you.
Yeah,
there's no more fascism.
I'm not going to get on my bullshit here for this. So, Merry Christmas, a-holes. Anyway, so the Muppet Movie. We're kind of really getting, we talked about Jim Henson earlier this year.
Yes, we did.
So we're kind of, coming back around to his big thing. This is his thing. This and Sesame Street, Sesame Street's a bunch of Muppets anyway. So here we are. I do want to say one thing as we get started here, and it's something that has not set right with me since we talked about those other two movies earlier, and something that I said, I know I probably don't even need to bring this up, but I misspoke in something. When we talked about Jim Henson as a person, I had made some mention to where I thought maybe his eventual death was probably due to some sort of hubris within him. And that's not really what I intended to say or mean. And I feel bad about that because he really was a good guy. And he didn't think he was as sick as he was. And I just want to clear the air on that. And I don't mean to make it sound like he's an idiot for not going to the hospital when he started feeling sick.
Well, I'm sure Julie, the backseat driver, will be happy to hear you.
Yeah, she ripped on me for months on X.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I was canceled. Yeah.
Good for you for saying that, but I feel like we could have a whole episode of shit I've said that I can walk back at this point.
Well, you didn't make fun of a bunch of Italian people over Hudson Hawk. So anyway, so
moving right along.
The Muppet Movie is one of my childhood absolute favorite movies ever, and still a movie that I very, very much adore. I said it to you guys privately in our chat that I still feel a lot of the same ways I've always felt over the last 40 plus years. Anytime I watch this movie or hear one of the songs, and there's a few songs in particular that it's like it gets to me,
Yeah.
So I've been wanting to talk about this for a bit, and I assume you guys probably also, for the most part, kind of grew up with this movie too.
I can go. This is definitely one of my favorite movies as a kid. I have very clear memories of watching it with my brothers along with the Muppet Show.
Oh yeah.
Weirdly though, and we could talk about this at a point later, I think I have a Mandela effect for this.
Yeah, you had mentioned something about that. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like I'm unsettled about it. But yes, Jason, this came out like
This was
Too
this came
soon
out
for-
the year I was born. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of weeks after you were born. Yeah.
Yes, I definitely grew up with this movie, but I was certainly more a child of Sesame Street.
Sure.
And then the Muppet movie that I grew up with, like my childhood Muppet movie, was Great Muppet
Manhattan.
Caper.
Oh.
And Manhattan. Manhattan too. Manhattan was probably the first one I saw in the theater. Maybe the only one I ever saw in the theater, other than one of the newer ones. But yes, Caper and Manhattan. I have a lot more nostalgia for those two. And yeah, which one is the one where he gets amnesia? Is that Manhattan?
I forget.
I think it is.
Well,
I think it is.
Caper
He gets hit by
is
the
Charles
car.
Caper is Grodin.
Yeah, and Charles Grodin is the Caper one. Yeah.
I actually conflate Caper and Manhattan a lot because
think
I
I do
often
too.
think
Yeah.
Charles Grodin is in Muppets Take Manhattan, but he's in Caper.
Yeah, he's in Caper.
So
I
yeah.
conflate the two as well because I watched those two a lot. This
Yeah.
one, funny enough, I don't know when the last time I saw that. It might have been
80s.
30, 35 years since I've seen
Hmm.
this movie. It's been a long time.
It is one of the tamer, like Muppet movie movies. So that, like it's great all the way through, right? Like I like it all the way through. I don't know if I'd say it's great still, but
It doesn't have,
neither here nor there. It doesn't have those
like
moments
doesn't
that
have
some of the other.
the manic sort of attitude that some of the later
Yes.
ones have, right?
Yes.
It is
Yes.
much more reserved. It's a road movie, right?
Yeah.
It's
This is emulating the Bob
honestly,
Hope.
I laughed my ass off so many times in this movie because honestly, the jokes are hitting like I'd never heard before.
There's one particular line that Kermit says that fucking murdered me.
There is
We'll
a
get
lot.
to that.
There's a lot.
I will say real quick.
There's one thing that Fozzie says that absolutely destroys me. But yeah, I mean, and I won't go there right away, but the ending, it went at the showdown. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I about pissed my pants. I completely forgot about that.
It's so good.
Well, just everything and like there were lines this time around that I was missing because I was giggling so hard at Beaker.
Oh God!
When he's
has
trying
a moment.
to explain that something that doesn't work anymore, and it's like, oh my God, that killed me.
And Beaker like agreeing in his Beaker way and his dejected demeanor. Oh my God,
It's so good.
It's just wonderful.
So to note real quick, I watched this with my 18-year-old Sarah. She had never seen it before, so I somewhat have probably failed as a parent, but my kids were not like movie watchers. Like it was hard for me to get them to watch like Goonies and stuff with me, which were really what hit with me, when I was a kid.
Yeah,
and
totally.
I could see like transferring. But she had some thoughts on this one that are kind of funny that I'll kind of like sprinkle in at the moments
Cool.
that they happen.
Yeah. This was one, and I'd already kind of mentioned the soundtrack. This was one I had the vinyl record for when I was a kid. Played it a lot,
Yeah.
a lot, like so much so that again, a couple of the songs still make it into some playlists and rotations from time to time, and I just get a bug to listen to a couple of the songs.
I mean, the Rainbow Connection is
That is
Stone Cold classic.
I mean, that is
It's one of the greatest movie songs ever.
yeah.
The fact that it didn't win the Oscar because it went up against all that jazz is
Well,
crazy.
yeah, I mean the song score I can understand going up against all that jazz and losing song score. I mean, because
all that jazz is also like a massive song, right? I mean,
yeah,
I get it in a way. It's kind of like 1A, 1B. I mean, I would prefer Rainbow Connection, but I'm not mad at it for losing. Right?
no, I mean, and some songs like that have a longer life tend not to win the Oscars when they're up for them. Pop songs don't win Oscars until the last 10 years.
I would bet a lot of money that Rainbow Connection was a close number 2.
I'm sure. I mean, this was a movie that was well beloved at the time that it came out.
And that song, I think, then it had a huge meaning to me as a kid, but now as an adult with everything that's going on, it feels like there's foresight.
Yeah.
In this song, and it's a cry for equality, right? Like in a lot of ways.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, the rainbow and all that it represents now. Like, it's a cool thing to go back to and say, like, did Jim Henson know what he was saying? I know he didn't write the song, but obviously he had the idea for it. It's pretty inspirational, really.
Well, we should talk about who wrote that song. The great Paul Williams.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Paul Williams.
Yes. What we've talked about, Phantom of the Paradise. Have we talked about anything else?
Oh, he was Virgil in Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
and Cannonball Run.
That was this year, and Cannonball Run. Yeah,
or not Cannonball.
No,
you know it.
Not Cannonball Run. The
Smokey and the Bandit.
Smokey and the Bandit.
Smokey and the Bandit. The other Burt Reynolds movie. Yeah.
Talk about more conflation.
Yeah. One of these days we're gonna get around to some Bugsy Malone, because that one, song for song, is one of the best that he's done, in my opinion, and one of the lesser known. We're gonna get that one.
It's cool. Paul Williams is one of those guys that, probably because of Phantom of the Paradise and knowing like he was the quirky character that I liked in Smokey and the Bandit 40 years ago or whatever. Like, I didn't know a lot about Paul Williams, and it's kind of been a flood this last year and a half. You know what I mean?
I didn't know who Paul Williams was the last time I saw this movie, like legitimately. So seeing him in the movie was just such a joy. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's well, and what's funny is I knew who he was as a kid, because it's like, because my brothers were old enough to know who he was. So when I watched the movie, it's like, oh, that's the guy who wrote the songs, or basically, it's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Don't shoot the piano player.
Sarah said something like, is that dollar store Elton John? I'm like, no, that's Paul Williams.
that's at least a dime store Elton John.
A silver dollar, maybe.
Also in that scene, Frank Oz is also in that scene.
Yes.
So
I mean, who isn't in that scene?
Right.
Who isn't in this first 20 minutes? It's insane.
I do want to talk about it at some point. Like, I want to do the best cameo awards for this movie, because some are much better than others.
Oh, I have. I think I have a runaway on this, but
I've got two in particular that
I've got two, but there's one that kills me. Yeah. Anyway, so so Paul Williams wrote the music for this movie. There's some. I've said it before. I'll say it again, and I'll say it yet again later. There's some bangers in this movie.
Yes, sir.
And I mean, I found myself like, kind of singing along with it too as I was watching it, because they're part of my life, Anyway, the movie opens with Rainbow Connection, with Kermit on the log, and, just going to where he's from, just some bog. And that's Dom DeLuise is our first. Which is funny because he sets the entire story and the entire franchise of the Muppets basically in motion, and we never see him again in this movie.
I think the alligator ate him.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, Arnie the alligator.
Alligator, read my lips.
Alligator.
Oh, my tongue is the first thing to go.
I'm trying to catch a plane, not with that tongue.
It's coming out fast and hard with the puns, with the one-liners. Yeah,
the one-liners in this movie are just wonderful.
I can't imagine I'm not punny in part because of this movie.
They had to have an effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm like punny, like.
Well, and what's kind of funny is watching this as an adult, I didn't realize that Kermit really is more sardonic. Mm-hmm. Like my favorite line is extremely sardonic, and he is he's got a little bit of a dark sense of humor at times, or at least and not like. Whereas Fozzie is always the guy who's elevated, who's happy, and Kermit is always the one who's kind of more grounded and realistic. And some of his jokes really kind of like, I kind of can't believe Kermit said that.
Yeah, he is. Yes, I agree. And I think he changes over time, though.
He
Sure.
softens. His personality kind of softens. He becomes the eternal optimist of the
Yes.
Yeah, well, he has to go through that night in the desert, right?
Yeah,
He's got to have that conversation with himself.
Yeah,
He was chasing the naked Indian.
Like Wayne.
or Jim Morrison.
Well, I always think of Wayne's World when I think it's like strange naked alien, strange naked Indian.
Yes.
I said alien. Anyway,
he cries at the end. Yeah.
yeah.
After Wayne Stock, he's crying as he's picking up all the trash.
Oh my God, I've not seen Wayne's World in way too long.
That's
Either of them.
That's two.
Obviously, that's a
another one
moment
that I do
from a
conflate
sequel.
sometimes, but
Yes.
Anyway, so basically, the Dom DeLuise is like a talent scout, and he's like, "Hey, you're a singing frog, totally normal, but you're pretty good at it. Why don't you go to Hollywood? You would look great in the pictures, more or less." And he's like, "Okay." And then there's a scene in this movie that, like, I don't want to oversell it, but there is something that happens when he leaves the bog that it was considered like legitimate movie magic.
Him riding the bike?
Yes, because you see a
It looks
puppet.
so fucking good.
yeah.
Yes, the puppet is operating like a puppet while you are watching its legs work a bicycle. That's insane.
I was blown away, and Sarah too was like, "That looks really good."
Yeah.
So, yeah, it holds up. It holds up.
It
Obviously,
does. Now, I would have to assume the bike was on some sort of a track.
Sure.
And there was
The
probably like a
pedals are
remote.
moving,
Yeah, and there's something that moving his head and his mouth.
Don't
But that's-
destroy this
But still,
illusion for me.
yeah, but I mean, but like, even when he's in the bog, I was like thinking, it's like, is Jim Henson underwater? Like, where is Jim Henson
In the
this?
rock, probably.
Yeah, but he's got
yeah.
but like the water's right there too. So it's like there's a lot of like really clever puppetry.
It could also
in
just be that the tank is in the front and he's behind
Sure,
it, and that's
it
more
could be.
like matted and
Yeah. But
Ruining
still,
magic for you guys. I hate this.
but this
it looks
is
great. You never.
This is
Yeah, I agree.
It's practicality, right? It's like this is the one thing we all like wow at when we see it in movies.
And
And
that's
we
why
miss it.
We miss
Yes.
it. We miss
Yeah.
it. There's nothing tangible anymore about special effects. It's
Think about what we talked about with like Fury Road when we did Mad Max month, right? Like, and most of that is practical stuff
a lot. Yes.
with some help, but a lot of it is. I mean, like, and that's why we were so like our pants were knocked off from it when we all went and saw it, because it's like this is not what movies are anymore. What happened? It's like, oh, we're going back to an older style there.
I wish the people listen, and nobody cares about us anymore, 45-year-old men or whatever age we are, right? Like, nobody cares about us. But I wish people listened when we screamed about the special editions of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And how mad we were about those add-ins that were not practical anymore.
Right.
And we're like, this fucking sucks. Like, this thing you did sucks. This Jabba you added sucks. And
the problem is
nobody listened.
And the problem is because nobody listened, and because the jobs changed, the roles changed, the money, like how you got paid, changed. It's almost a dying art.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't the people around anymore who can do this kind of in-camera effects works anymore, and this puppetry work. It's just like, and even if there were, because it doesn't scale anymore, it's cost prohibitive. It's cheaper.
Right.
Just
There
to
should
do it
be
with
like
computer.
There should be like a Jim Henson school though, or like a school.
Well, Stan
that
Winston.
specialize. Is there one?
Yeah,
They
Stan
still
Winston does.
exist.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, the Henson company still exists. They did that.
No, I mean to bring new people.
There are people who still do it, but it is niche now. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not the go-to. Yeah.
Well, and the problem is
it's because it's a novelty.
Exactly. And the things like the Dark Crystal show is probably not appealing to children because it is trying to appeal to an older style of making something that.
But that shit comes back around though. Sorry.
Well, yeah, no, but I mean,
I hope that there are maybe this new generation of movie watchers, or if there is even a generation of movie watchers anymore. Like, I don't know. But I hope.
Well, it's harder and harder to see that kind of person.
I mean, as many people like nowadays, I don't feel like kids watch movies. They watch 30-minute or 30-second, video clips.
No, what they watch is they watch people play video games.
That too. I mean, I could go on for an hour about what kids watch because I have two of them. But they really are hard to rope into movies, but sometimes they are blown away by them, and it's kind of cool to see because they don't sit in that medium very often. And they do watch a lot of cartoons and anime.
Sure.
Nowadays.
Yeah, anime is big, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they're all sitting around going and saying like skibbity toilet and shit. It's like, what is that?
Let's not do this again.
Anyway. I just said that because it's like there's like fucking toys and stuff of that, and it's like, what is this? What is this? What is this?
That's our way. Like back in the day, things we thought were popular or said a lot or bought into became toys.
I know, but like, Mad Balls make sense to me.
Yes, I mean we're never gonna get I can't get what the kids.
I mean, how many people outside of our generation can you explain something like Ren and Stimpy to? I mean,
well, a bunch. It's gross out humor. It's always going to be a hit.
Yeah, but
I played
it hits. It did. Our parents didn't get it, and I don't think that Chuck's kids would.
No, and I have an actual example, not Ren and Stimpy, but Coast to Coast, Space Ghost, Coast to Coast, which was fucking hysterical to me when I was 18, right? And it would have been when I was 15, whatever year it came out. And my kids are just like, what is this? This is so stupid. Like, it's just the way things go. Let me
ask the question. Are the Muppets, do they still work?
Yes.
Are they multi-generational? I mean, they've made movies in the last several years. They've made several new TV shows.
Well, the problem with the ABC show was that it went the Office route, so it was trying to be more to an adult audience. But I would say that generally speaking, the Muppets still hit in the same regard as Looney Tunes does.
Yeah.
There's new Looney Tunes cartoons that are actually pretty funny, but they are obviously made for the new generation of kids.
That's kind of a waning popularity too, though.
Well, I mean, I think it's. I don't know.
There's new Muppet Babies. How is that popular?
I don't know.
I've never even heard of it.
I didn't know that there was
a newish Muppet Babies.
Was that the one on Netflix? Was that where that was?
I have no idea.
I will say I just texted Sarah to ask, but. She did like this movie. She does like the Muppets. She has questions about the lead, which is interesting to me. Like, why is Kermit the lead in this movie? Is he Jim Henson's first Muppet? Does he have anything special about him? Because there's so many characters.
Yeah,
I think it goes back to the Muppet Show, though.
Well, it goes back before that. It goes back to Electric Company.
Yeah,
Muppet. Yeah. He was the one Muppet on the Electric Company, and he was the street reporter, so he was always considered the host of things. I think that's just it was just his personality created from that. Was like, of course he would be the host, the leader.
All right. Sorry, I'm getting live answers.
An origin story, because this is an origin story. The Muppet Movie
should stem from him.
Think of Kermit as the leader of the Muppets, so it starts.
And you do get the one quick cameo a little bit later where it's a little bit ahead of where we have been, but
Right.
from the leader of the Sesame Street,
from Big Bird. Yeah,
Yeah,
from
I
Big Bird.
I
Yeah.
liked that. I thought that was
Yeah.
nice. Yeah,
I loved it as a kid too.
and I like that Big Bird is is going to New York City to break into public television.
It's so good.
And they're like, okay.
Like, okay, good luck with that.
Sarah says, when I asked directly, in your opinion, do the Muppets still work? Do you like them? And she says, I do like them. They're fun, and the message is pretty ubiquitous.
Yeah,
There it is. Yep.
It works.
Yep. And that's what I think is still there for things like, because both Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry, two things I grew up on, are still around today. There's still new stuff coming out from those. And I think ubiquitous is the right word for it.
Yeah, everyone's going to like violence forever, right? Like,
Yeah.
like the Tom and Jerry stuff and Coyote and
they may have a
Roadrunner
different
and
opinion of Tom's owner than I did when I was a kid.
Right, of course. Yes,
But that's, I mean, again, but that was also made in an era before me even. So, whatever. But, so anyway, after Kermit gets on his bike, he runs into some road construction. His bike gets squashed.
yeah. Gone with the Schwinn.
Gone with the Schwinn. That was
Gone with the Schwinn.
That's a good
Yes.
joke. That joke is kind of dated though, because my kid
Sure.
didn't get it, and I'll stop doing this eventually.
No. That's it's good to know what because. Yeah, I mean,
What kids
what's
don't
a
like
Schwinn?
Bicycles anymore?
I guess I don't know.
Did he not know? Wait, whoa. Did she not know what Schwinn was versus Gone with the Wind?
Yeah, she knew Gone with the Wind. She didn't know Schwinn.
No,
Oh, I had it backwards. That is
maybe she
weird.
didn't know Gone with the Wind. Yeah. Huh.
Oh my god.
Weird
Okay.
kid though too. Like if you've met Sarah, she's an interesting cat. So
Sure. So yeah, I mean, and to be honest with you, it's like I'm not a huge bike rider, so it's like, of course I was then, but not now. So if
moving
you're not-
right along.
Exactly. So,
Joke.
so he ends up in a rough. Kermit ends up in a roughneck sailor bar or something. It's like a pirate bar. I don't know what it is.
El
but
Sleazo.
El Sleazo.
James Colburn.
Yeah,
James Coburn
runs the El Sleazo
And it's too rough for him,
cafe.
which is that's one thing I'm sure Sarah did not get. But like James Coburn's a tough guy, and it's too tough for him.
I did have to explain that, but she called the joke, "I'm the owner." She knew that's what
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
And inside you got piano playing Paul Williams. And this is where
Got Savalas in here.
Telly Savalas is in there.
And this is the Fozzie the Bear add-on.
Yes.
Kane.
Carol Kane is the big one in here too, because she pops up later again.
She's the myth.
She's the myth.
Yeah.
Myth.
That like pop up later killed me. It was
And I should say where the road construction was, they were put the sign for that was the first time you saw Doc Hopper's, which will be Max sees him then and tells Doc Hopper later, which turns into the big chase.
Yes, which
and
turns into the Big Lebowski.
Madeline Kahn was kind of doing her Blazing Saddles character.
Yes.
Too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Fozzie Bear takes the stage. He's bombing.
Of course he is.
Of course he is. And so Kermit decides, let's do a soft shoe. Let's just go up there and do a little dance. Now I know how the movie magic worked here. But,
Play something peppy or whatever.
snazzy.
Oh, snazzy, yeah.
Yeah. And so so Paul Williams, plays them so, and it just everything becomes like everything's going nuts. At one point, Kermit gets tossed and ends up on the ceiling fan. But
The one guy turns it up.
yeah, and he's like giggly about it too. He's like, and but Fozzie is like, hey, I can save my new friend. So drinks around the house.
This is so groan worthy. but it's
But
funny. It's
yeah.
funny, but it's grown.
It's grown worthy. Hey, I thought they said the drinks were around the house.
But this is when you find out that right now
Works every time.
Fozzie has got his uncle's car,
Yeah.
which is a Studebaker, and they hit the road. And this is the second great song on the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Moving right along, which I think probably prepared me for stuff like the Monkees.
Good.
There's a very Monkees feeling element to the song. And certainly on their first album, the Monkees had the song "Gonna Buy Me a Dog," which was very sing a little, converse a little, tell a joke sort of thing. And that's what "Moving Right Along" makes me think of.
There's also a motif from this song that they use throughout the movie.
Yep, the nice
that
little
sounds-
leitmotif.
That sounds like Down in Fraggle Rock. And
Yeah,
every time I heard it, I was like, oh my God, it's so weird.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, Fraggle Rock. That's
I watched Fraggle Rock a lot too. That was on HBO. That was good stuff.
But I like all the jokes in here about where they are and like
Going the
going the
wrong
wrong way and the fork in the road, which is a little grown worthy, but also like as a kid, hilarious.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, they even kind of grown at it too, to a certain extent themselves, you know.
It's self-aware joke.
Right. Yeah. And this is when they run into to Big Bird.
Yep.
Who's just walking down the road. And
But we also, before this, there's been an altercation though. Because at the
with Doc
beginning
Hopper.
of their road trip, we meet our villain.
yes.
Because on
Big
the way to
Lebowski,
the El
right?
Sleazo, before when he loses the it's Charles Durning, exactly. He's pretty much playing like a weird version of his character from or was that? Hold on, who was he in? He's kind of playing a weird version of his character from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Charles Durning is, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because you get the impression that he's from Louisiana, right? Because that's where you eat frog legs.
He's wearing the same like suspenders and
It's the seersucker.
exactly. He kind of also does sort of look like a version of Colonel Sanders in this.
Well, there's this.
So it's a little Hudsuckery too.
A little Hudsucker, yeah. But anyway, I mean, it's Charles Durning.
He looks so old in this, knowing that he looked
He goes
like
on
later.
for another 30 years.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
But Steve Martin did the same thing in this. But
Oh yeah.
But he's got a.
Oh, we'll
he's
get
got
to
a-
Steve Martin. I promise you.
I know.
He's got a franchise of what is it? The deep fried or French fried frog legs.
Yes.
Fried frog legs.
French fried frog legs because his name is what?
Doc Hopper.
Doc Hopper's French
Hey, it's
fried
Doc
frog legs.
Hopper. Hey.
His video is so bad. The
And he
commercial
shows him the video, yes, and that absolutely destroyed me. Charles Durning in the frog outfit and everything. I'm just imagining Charles Durning like on set shooting that commercial and how hilarious that must have been.
But I get the impression he had a great time making this movie.
I think everyone.
Well, I don't think it's possible not to have a great time making a Muppet.
I mean, friggin' Orson Welles has to deliver one serious line, and he probably had the time of his life.
that probably took 4 days to shoot.
Well, he's not
That's why
Marlon
they got a
Brando.
fake Orson Welles in that other movie we covered.
Right. Yeah. See, you said that there was no connection in the movies I picked for December. Orson Welles
rainbow
appears in both.
Yeah.
But he admits, he's like, yes, it is a terrible commercial. I'm not cut out for that.
But you are.
But you would be perfect to be.
You
the
sing, you
mascot.
dance,
What's great about that, and it's obvious to everyone who watches it, is that Kermit is talking about how appalling it is that he sells frog legs. And he thinks he's talking about the quality of the commercial.
Well, and what's also great is he talks about, it's like, imagine all the little frogs on crutches.
Tiny crutches.
And that gets Max.
Millions of frogs on tiny
Tiny
crutches.
little- and Max is like, crutches?
Dude, I
Rich
thought Max.
by the way, we should mention we've had a good laugh with Austin Pendleton. Was that earlier this year, or was that last year with My Cousin Vinny?
That was last year.
Yeah, last year, yeah.
He's the sleepy defense attorney.
Yep.
You want to know? something terrible, maybe funny, because the first time you see Max, he's kind of far away. I'm like, oh, Steven Spielberg cameo, because he kind of has that Steven Spielberg hair, and he's wearing the hat.
The hat, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, that's Steven Spielberg, and then like 5 minutes later, I'm like, that's not Steven Spielberg.
No.
It was stuttered, right? It was the stutter in because of Vinny. God,
Yeah.
good.
Austin
He steals
Pendleton.
that scene.
Yeah, it's like he's been in a ton of things.
Yeah.
But he's like just like nameless guy most
I wonder
of the
how
time.
thick that man's glasses are now, because they were thick back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so that's when then they continue on, and but the chase continues. Like they end up having to try to lose Doc Hopper, and they end up at a church.
Here's the line from Fozzie, I'm guessing. Maybe.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah, this one's for the adults in the audience. Yeah.
Yes.
Because they like, it's like, okay, well, we'll just hang out here for a second. And Fozzie like goes right to sleep. Like he's overdue for a.
He's like, I'm wide awake. Let's go. And then he passes
He
out.
passes out. He's overdue for some, from some hibernation, I think. And they get woken up by Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem.
God,
Hell
so
yeah.
good.
Hell yeah.
Yes. And they come in, and when they go inside the church, what is it the Fozzie says, Chuck?
They don't look like Presbyterians.
Yeah, it's
me.
pretty good.
And this is like the second time, sorry, just to say that, because there'd been a joke about trying Hare Krishna.
Yes.
By Kermit.
losing direction.
Yes, whenever someone says, I don't know where I'm going, have you tried Hare Krishna? Which is like a kind of like an airplane joke. Almost.
It is. I mean, and it's a very 70s joke.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. But on the sign of this church, it says, have you tried Reverend Hare Krishna?
Yeah.
Which I didn't even catch. Sarah was like, hey, they used the joke again.
You got a whip smart child there.
She
Catching jokes.
very observant.
So they go in, they meet. So like they don't want to retell the story, so they just give them the script.
Yeah,
so
which is
good.
This is perfect for later.
Oh yeah, pays off great.
Yeah. So they catch up with reading as they nap some more, and they're like, we got to get this guy off their tail. So what are we gonna do? It's like, and it's Scooter who comes up with the idea. Disguise them.
Camouflage their car.
Yep.
Yeah.
Camouflage the car, which. So there's the whole the song for that too is fucking great. Can you picture that?
Can you picture that?
And
That's the one. That's the one that sounds like Down at Fraggle Rock.
Down
Yes.
Fraggle Rock?
Yes,
Yes,
it's that one.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it's probably even adapted in some way. Yeah.
This,
Yeah. Well, I actually had to look it up because I was like, did Paul Williams write the Fraggle Rock theme song? He did not. But man, if it had to be influenced by it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, sure. One thing I do need to say here is that Animal was and probably still is my favorite Muppet.
He's up there.
Most people I know say that. Yeah.
I fucking love Animal, and him in the scene is so good.
Yeah.
Like, he's always just repeating words or whatever, but the way and the words that he's repeating in the scene are so funny.
There are some times when he is like just kind of nodding along with the story and his brow furrows and he's like,
Yeah. It's just a wonderful that him and the bluesy bass. Is he the bass player? The blue guy.
Yes.
I love him. Is it Mo? I can't remember his name.
What is his name? It's
Floyd, isn't it? Is it
Floyd.
Floyd?
It is Floyd.
Yeah.
Floyd.
But
Yep.
but the Electric Mayhem, like, they're everything.
Yes.
Fantastic.
They kind of make this movie in ways with their, like, because their first act, end of first act, beginning of third act, right?
Yep.
Kind of appearances. They're right on the dot.
Yep.
And they're like invigorating every
Yes.
time you see them, which is fantastic.
Yes, and because Also, the sax player Zoot is the one who's too stoned to remember his name.
Oh my God, he's hilarious. They're all so good. Even
and they're
Denise, like
Janice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My bad. That's a Chuck thing.
Janice and Floyd are a couple.
Yes.
That's but anyway, they it's the line when they finish camouflaging the car that fucking kills me. They finish painting the car, to which Fozzie says, "I don't know how to thank you guys," and Kermit says, "I don't know why to thank you guys."
Yes, it's so good. That one killed me.
And I also love the fact that as soon as they pulled out of the church, they were discovered.
Yeah.
It didn't do anything.
Yes, but they were able to hide on the sign.
That is true.
The sign had the same color, so it did work, just not in the way you'd expect.
Right. It subverted some expectations there.
It's like a Studebaker, but it's not the same. And they're like, yeah, but it's driven by a frog and a bear.
But now we get to meet Gonzo.
Well, then Fozzie says, it's like, well, I think they recognized you. There's lots of bears out here, but only one frog.
Yeah, he totally blames Kermit. Yeah. So now we meet Gonzo and Camilla, which, by the way, I didn't always know that was his girlfriend's chicken's name, Camilla.
I did know that. Which is weird that I know that.
Yeah, it's so because it's not like she doesn't really talk. I mean, she's like, Mark.
She's expressive.
Yes,
there is some. I don't want to call it mystery, but Gonzo calls every chicken Camilla.
Yes.
Oh,
pretty much. So it doesn't matter the chicken.
I don't think that every chicken that has been in the history of the Muppets has been the same Camilla. I agree with
Yes. Yeah. He calls every chicken Camilla. And it's weird. His relationship with Camilla is weird, especially since he wants to go to dinner with Miss Piggy later. It's like, what would Camilla think about this?
Gonzo is my favorite Muppet. He's always been my favorite Muppet. Yes, he's my favorite Muppet. And I think that's why I like Muppets in Space so much, because that's his movie.
So let me ask you a question, because this is important to me. I think he's very underwhelming and underutilized in this movie.
I agree.
But there is something. He is used as a good butt of the joke a couple of times, and he does sing the best song of the movie.
Yes, he does sing the best song. That's very true. Not the best song, but
I think it's actually a little bit better than Rainbow Connection.
It's very poignant.
Yes.
It's not as catchy. It doesn't really stick.
No,
well,
but
you know what it is about that? We're not there yet. We'll talk about it because but yes, Gonzo
he is butt of one of my favorite deliveries in this movie is when I won't even do it justice the way Fozzie says it. When
you're saying
we picked up a weirdo.
Yeah, we picked up a weirdo. Yeah,
the timing and delivery of that line is so good.
Yeah, because they end up he's driving like a beat up old style like
plumber's truck.
And it ends up on top of the Studebaker upside down. And then they go and Uncle Milty is going to sell him a new car. And there's a
Sam?
No, sorry. Sam's the eagle. Harry.
Oh yeah, Harry. Thank you.
But they call him. They think his name is Jack.
Yeah,
because that's his Jack. He carries cars around. But like it's kind of funny though because it's like at one point he smashes a bug on the windshield, which makes the car look like it's $11.95. And of course, it's a $12 trade in, to which Gonzo is like, and you owe us a nickel.
Yes.
So they get a new car and they go to the local fair. So that we're really picking up steam now because it's not long after we get Gonzo that we get Miss Piggy.
We're moving right along.
Absolutely.
Right.
And Miss Piggy, so the very last time you see Charlie and Edgar Bergen alive, basically, they have judged the beauty pageant at this fair, to which the puppet says, "You're not going to believe who we picked," and it's Miss Piggy. And And so she sees Kermit. It's
Love at first sight.
love at first sight with some pretty good like parodies of like various. So like at one point, she's like running towards them. They're running towards each other, and when they hit, she basically keeps pushing him like she's tackling him.
Overpowers him. It's so funny.
Watching Miss Piggy as an adult is a whole other like level, because there are things that she says where it's like that sailed so far over my head as a child, and there's like elements to that character where it's like, no wonder that, you know, Miss Piggy is like a kind of a pretty famous character for adults.
She's funny because she's way up there for me, but she's also one of the most annoying Muppets.
Yes.
Yeah.
And her,
but I love her
more and more annoying as the movies go too.
Yes.
But I think she's at her best in this one. I really do.
She's great in this movie.
Yeah.
She's great because she does all the things you'd want her to do, like the starlet shit she does.
Yeah.
And like,
Well, and her big fight scene is just great.
it's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
So Sarah at this.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jason.
No, whenever, that's when I love Miss Piggy, is when she starts doing her karate. It's so good.
Yes. Oh my God. Sarah was laughing at this because she said, and I quote, Kermit the Frog is coded as Rick Moranis. Why would this beautiful woman fall in love with him at first sight? And I'm like, I don't know, because to like Kermit is to know him, right? Like you fall in love with Kermit because of him.
Yeah.
And what he is. Like, the love at first sight aspect of this is kind of funny.
I mean, does Sarah not love Rick Moranis? I mean,
but would
easy personality to love, you know?
But you don't love that at first sight. You don't look at Rick Moranis and fall in love with him. You have to know him a little bit.
It's also just the joke of a pig falling in love with a frog.
You're right. But yes, I agree with that. Sarah also questioned at this point why Kermit was the main character of this movie, but I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
Well, and he really is kind of the straight man of the Muppets more than anything.
And that was more prominent,
more of a thing later, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is the straight man, yeah.
And straight mans were more like, we don't see as many straight man narratives anymore, right?
No,
like
because because it's, you know, like your Will Ferrell's and Chris Farley's take over in the 90s and aughts, you know.
Right.
Everybody's got jokes.
Yeah. Or they're over the top in some way, you know, like they're grandiose.
It's missing from the vocabulary of the young unless they watch older movies.
Well, right? Yeah, because like growing up, it's like Channel 4 used to always show like the Laurel and Hardy shorts.
Or Abbott and Costello.
And it's like it's always the straight man that you consider the leader or the person out front. The other one's the foil. Yeah, the other one's the foil.
I'm trying to think of like the last great straight man. And in some ways, in movies, I think it might be like Kristen Wiig. Even maybe Maya Rudolph. They kind of play the straight woman, if you will, a lot.
Leslie Nielsen, this is kind of weird to say, but in the Naked Gun movies, is a type of straight man, right?
Yeah. Like the chaos happens around him.
He's kind of playing the stoic for laughs.
Yeah.
And I remember that, but I'm with you on the Kristen Wiig but she's funny too.
She is, yeah.
But it's much more
person. You have to kind of like be funny with nuance, right?
Yeah,
well, I mean, Bill Murray,
stuff like that. Yeah,
right. Bill Murray would be a good straight man.
Yeah, very much so.
Yes,
yeah.
And later, not at this time, but later, Steve Martin is a very good straight man.
Yes.
Yeah. We don't even really have that kind of comedy anymore.
No.
Like,
not unless it's one of the older guys doing it. Yeah.
It's kind of a lost art. I don't want to call it a lost art, but it's a lost, like...
It's a lost something, because it's why I don't clamor to watch comedies.
Blow now.
Yeah.
But I mean, anyway. I'll go here a little bit, I guess, if we're going to talk about this modern straight man. I think Bradley Cooper was kind of the straight man in like those Hangover movies.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think those movies are great by any
But he's
stretch,
almost too much of a dick to be the straight. Like, he doesn't. I'm with you though.
His
I don't
comedy is more in like I'm the jerk of the group.
Yeah.
That's fair. But he's not like also just trying to steal scenes though, right?
No, and he's not over the top, which is probably the same thing as trying to steal scenes, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah. Continue, Jeff. Moving right along.
No, yeah, we got to do that every time, guys. Sorry. So basically, we get another good. Richard Pryor shows up here at the fair because Camillo.
A little bit more from this cameo, but it was fine.
Sure, I mean it was. What more can you really get from him for a kids movie?
True, but still,
I know
he didn't really get to be his like kind of wacky self.
But he is being like he's. You don't think he's a flim flam man? Does that make like he talks him into buying more balloons?
He wants him. You know what's better is if you buy instead of buying one balloon, if you buy all the balloons.
Right. Well, I think he just says buy.
I never considered that.
Yeah, but he doesn't seem like overly like trying to weasel him.
Right. I wish I would. Yeah, I could have played it up a little bit more.
Yeah. Sure. But yeah, so Gonzo like flies off. But meanwhile, you got Bob Hope handing out ice cream.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got Dragonfly Ripple and Honey is the two ice cream cones that Fozzie goes to get for himself and for Kermit. Now, there's also the great misunderstanding of Kermit asking Miss Piggy to go for ice cream, but he doesn't actually say enough. And he's like, do you want to come with us? Right after he's talking about going to Hollywood. And so she immediately, and just like with Harry, the big monster at the car place, who chases him also for the rest
I'm going to catch up with you guys.
He's so great. He's so great. It's like Mike DeCrane.
Yes.
That's what Harry is.
But so he ends up, Crazy Harry is. No, wait,
that was Milton Berle, right?
In that scene, he was the
car salesman.
Yeah, and so he he heads like the
Gonzo's flying away,
right?
Kermit
and so
the gang get in the car, and then Doc Hopper starts chasing them
and starts shooting the balloons, which causes Gonzo to fall onto the car.
He's trying to shoot the tires, but there's a whole
ice cream
mishap with the cream pie.
Yeah.
And that apparently being a real pie, which is hilarious, and it hitting a car that Max is driving, and then it screws up his aim, and he shoots at the balloons, and Gonzo falls onto the roof of the new car, right? I don't think they're in
Yes, it's the new car because that was later.
Yeah,
after they got the new car, and then Miss Piggy's like, "Oh, our commander, whatever she calls him."
Oh, well, she says something.
Leader.
She says something that comes to me. It's like, I have no understanding of what's happening at all.
But then she thanks Kermit for his leadership, and and Gonzo's like, "Well, you didn't see me fall into the middle of the car from the sky," and Fonzie's like, "I was driving."
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
And
stuff.
I'm wrong. I don't remember what his Sweetums is the name of the guy.
Sweetums is the monster guy.
Crazy Harry is the pyrotechnic guy who always blows everything out, and he's in the wraparound of because I guess we should also say that this movie is being shown to us at the same time that the private screening is happening.
Yes.
For the Muppets as a whole.
Right.
So he's in the wraparound part. But anyway.
Yeah, we're about to have more Crazy Harry here soon because next they run into Mel Brooks.
Yes. Right? So, we run into Mel Brooks after. So basically, after they save Gonzo, Piggy gives all of the credit to
Kermit.
To which Gonzo is even like, he didn't really have anything to do with it. And Fozzie's like, and I was driving. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was I was looking up because I was looking up the other thing.
But they
so
end
she's
up at
like,
a
let's go.
hotel.
Yeah, like let's go to dinner. And this is where my favorite cameo, Steve Martin.
He's so fucking good.
It's either this or Mel Brooks for me. These are
the back to back. This is back to back. 1 and 1A.
They're
yes.
the meatiest ones too. Right?
Yes.
You put those fucking legends in these spots. You could have had a larger like Richard Pryor, honestly, and it probably would have been really good. But yeah, like Steve Martin being the waiter and being just totally like not
the insolent waiter is how is credited. It's so
that's great.
Well, and the whole thing about like the wine that they order, and they
smell the bottle cap.
It's just a bottle cap for one, and for two, he's when he tastes it for himself, and it's like it's fucking rancid, and to which he's like, an excellent choice for 95 cents.
Yes.
To which Piggy's like, ooh.
Ooh.
Oh man.
But Piggy, so yeah, he...
that'll be all for now. Oh, will it be? Oh, great. Thank you so much, sir.
And he's
and
like
the way
bowing.
he's backing up while he's doing it. It's just good, Steve Martin.
And so
what a
Piggy
master
gets
at his craft. God.
Piggy gets a call.
He's never bad. I'm sorry.
No,
He's never bad.
No.
Ever.
I mean, another movie I grew up with was The Jerk.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah.
I want to quote a line from that, but I can't say it right now. It like popped immediately into my head, but I can't say it.
Is it the classic like first line of the movie?
Is it the first line of the movie? He says the N-word in it.
Yeah.
That's not what he says at the first part of the movie. But
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny? I hadn't seen that movie in a long time, and Susan and I were on the bus home from Chicago. And sometimes on the bus, they put on a movie. You don't really have a choice. They just put it on.
Right.
And sometimes there's an informal vote, but whatever. And the bus driver put on The Jerk.
Oh God.
And it was really loud, and she forgot to press play. So it was just like this loop of the menu sequence. And it was about as obnoxious as you could imagine. Like, it looped over and over and over again. And it was the poor black child. Grew up a poor black child. Like I heard it like 100 times in maybe 10 minutes. It probably less than that, 5 minutes, because it was like a 30-second loop. And I about lost my mind. I was like, oh my God, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to watch this movie again.
It's too good, that movie. It's too good. Like, it's
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when she finally figured it out and she pressed play,
did everyone cheer on the bus?
The audio is just so like obnoxious on the bus. You know, it's just like shrill. Right, so I couldn't watch it. I just put my headphones on, and I was like, I can't do it. And plus, the closest screen was like farther up from where I was sitting. I was like, yeah, whatever. So I put my noise canceling on. Yeah, so I do need to go back. I do need to go back and watch it though, because like looking at it in the silent mode, some of the physical comedy was bringing back memories. I was like, man, that's a funny movie.
Nice.
It is.
Anyway. So the Piggy gets a call, and she thinks it's her agent because she made a call about heading out to Hollywood when she was packing to go with Kermit and gang. And as time passes, we get to meet Kermit thinks she's run off, and we meet my favorite Muppet, Rolf.
He was my favorite as a kid
Rolf.
too.
Ralph was good.
He was retired because he was Jim Henson's favorite too.
He was my favorite on the Muppet Babies.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
He's probably my second or 1A 1B because he's so like wise.
Yeah.
You know, like he's wise.
Well, that's what he's doing here. Yeah.
He was wise a lot in the Muppet Show, which I'm shocked only had a 5-year run. I just looked it up.
Right?
That's insane to me.
It's all on Disney Plus too, by the way. all of it. Yeah.
Oh, I have to watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry to steal that from you, Jeff. Go ahead. Talk.
No.
about Rolf.
I was going to say because he's got the song about women,
Yeah.
and it's like this. This is a banger too, man. This is good stuff. It's real good stuff.
Every song in this movie is good. There's not
even
a bad one.
even the Miss Piggy song, even the Weepy Love song is good.
It's a good love song.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they're all good. Yeah.
Would you say it's just an old-fashioned love song? Wasn't
Just
that
an
Paul Williams too?
old-fashioned love song.
Pretty sure that's a Paul Williams song too. Yeah.
Is it really?
Pretty sure.
Was that the band or Three Dog Night? I think that's Three Dog Night.
I think it's Three Dog Night.
Old-fashioned love song.
Or it's either that or the Guess Who.
1971 song written by Paul Williams and performed by the American pop rock band Three Dog Night.
So we're all right.
Yeah.
Kinda. Except for Jeff.
Well, I said either Three Dog Night or Guess Who. I couldn't
I'm
remember.
having deja vu. I think we've talked about this in another episode.
I think we have too.
Yeah. Anyway.
Were we coming down in 3-part stereo when we did it?
So and this is what was the
Rolf scene.
I hope that something better comes along. Yeah, that's a good one. And yeah, basically he's like, you know what? The women come, women go, whatever. Don't worry about it. Don't worry yourself. But Kermit now gets a call, which is funny because this is another Steve Martin classic. It's like, phone call from Miss Piggy. Hey, are you Miss Piggy? Pointing to the only pig in the place.
Right.
And he does the same thing to Kermit. Phone call for Kermit the Frog. Hey, are you Kermit the Frog?
And he's so put out doing it
Yes.
too. It's like,
It's very Steve Martin.
it's wonderful.
Yes.
And maybe it's very Steve Martin to me because I remember this. I mean, he does go on to do this in SNL and other things, but it is, I don't know him before this, obviously.
No,
Right,
I mean, that was something else I had as a kid, but it was because of this and The Jerk that I knew him best. But like, I also had a couple of his comedy albums, like with King Tut on it and all of that
I got
stuff.
those later because of SNL. And
Yeah. But anyway,
The Jerk came out the same year.
yeah, this was his apex of his
this
rise.
is Steve Martin exploding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you had to be at least semi-famous to get a cameo like this.
Yes. I mean,
Yes.
considering some of them are like Milton Berle and Bob Hope. And
This had to be
you had to be
Optimum,
somebody. Yeah.
Like I want to be in the Muppet Movie and beat some probably significant people for some of these roles.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
But then again, I mean, Jim Henson did have a connection to Saturday Night Live. Like, he was there for the first episode. So I mean, I wouldn't
They
have
probably
been
knew each other.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if he even asked George Carlin to do something.
Oh my God, it would have been so great if George Carlin was in this. He would have done Steve Martin's role.
Probably. Yeah.
It's a very similar kind of,
Yeah. So anyway, this call is like, hey, we got your pig. You're going to come here to this place and we're going to, you'll trade your life for hers, basically. And this is when we get Mel Brooks as the Nazi scientist.
oh my God, it's insane. Jason,
And just like we thought we were going to leave fascism behind, we've got him.
Yeah.
Really quickly though, here we go. Here's your Carlin. Carlin appeared on 2 episodes of the Jimmy Dean Show, which featured Ralph the dog, and he hosted the very first episode of Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
So there you go. He's connected. Yep.
For sure. So, Jason, do you want to talk about Mel Brooks in this scene?
I mean, it's just hilarious. I mean, he's doing 2 characters. He's doing himself. He plays himself in between, kind of like his German Nazi mad scientist character.
Which is kind of weird.
It is. It's weird, but it's like it's so.
It's very him. Yeah.
He's kind of like breaking the fourth wall a little bit, right? It sort of feels a little bit like Spaceballs the merchandise at times,
Spaceball the German.
Yeah. But my favorite part is when he starts to really get worked up as the mad scientist, and he at one point screams, "He will center your frog legs!"
So yeah, his whole thing is he's gonna reprogram and probably just neuter Kermit's brain.
He'll
with
brainwash him. Yeah.
with this little machine. And what happens is, and what always happens is, the main bad guy leaves because he's got other shit to take care of, and it's like, oh, well, they're gonna get out of this scenario because the main bad guy left. Like, it's so typical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in this movie, it's like, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And this is like Miss Piggy's apex. And
Yeah, this is her big moment. Yeah.
Because she's kind of like, oh, Kermie, after she left him, or the next day she leaves?
No, she leaves at the end of the scene.
Yes, she leaves at the end of the scene.
Yes.
But she's like, oh, they're going to neuter Kermit the Frog's brain. Well, I'm going to break out of this shit. And she has her fucking classic karate fucking kickdown with everyone.
The best one is when she ends up in
jumps.
the rafters.
Yes.
Yeah, she's in the rafters. She's like, boys. They look up and she like flies down at them.
It's funny because the way they had to film it, because it's a Muppet, she jumps into them, right?
Yes.
Onto them.
Right.
And they pile on top of her and she breaks out of it. But I'm like, it would have been a little better if she jumped on them and knocked them all out, but it's still it's tremendous. This is like
great.
Miss Piggy at her best, beat the shit out of everybody. And then she ends up draining the doctor's brain.
Yeah,
instead.
she kicks him under the thing, and yeah, it wrecks his brain.
Does he have a little one-liner when he falls out of it? He says something.
He says ribbit.
Oh yeah, he says ribbit.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't remember what he said.
Yeah, and
I'll
then
admit it was late and I had been drinking a little bit.
yeah. Well, at this point, another call comes, and it is Miss Piggy's agent at this point. So she's like, "Oh, you got a commercial on a TV show? All right, tell him to do the TV show." And then she like hangs up, and then she just turns the camera and she's like, bye. Just leaves.
But that's like a cool thing, like what you would expect this little starlet to do.
Yes.
Like, she's not riding coattails. She's trying to attach herself to the best
She uses
possible outcome.
Yep, exactly. Yep, she uses them as stepping stones, basically. Yeah. So, but they end up finding her again down the road a little bit. Like the next day, like something happens and she's out on the road again. They pick her up again. And this is when the car breaks down and they're all camping out there, to which
For the Gonzo song.
exactly. Yeah. But Kermit's carrying all the weight now because everybody's like, well, are we gonna make it like you said we would? And he's like, I didn't promise you anything. It's like Kermit's like, I didn't tell you. You guys were along for the ride. I didn't promise you shit.
Before this, though, we see Charles Durning. Doc Hopper has hired a frog killer.
The Black Wasp.
Oh,
what was his name?
God,
Black
yes.
Snake?
Snake Walker,
Snake Walker.
the frog killer.
Snake Walker, Texas Ranger.
My favorite part of this, though, is they're following Kermit and the gang, and the Kermit and the gang are in their car. And they're listening to the radio, and then the radio breaks through and it says, "This has been music to kill frogs by."
Yes.
And he's got the CD on, and he's somehow like able to talk to their radio. It kills me.
Yeah.
And he warns them, and this is when he this is before, right?
Well, it is no, they're on a bus.
Well, yeah, because the Electric
Max
Mayhem
shows up.
Yes,
Yeah.
because after the song,
So
when Max warns
that
them,
happens before they go to the desert.
Yes. Yep. So they get there and Kermit's like carrying all the weight of like, he thinks everybody has considered him to be promised them there. And so like And he was like, well, originally I was fine disappointing myself, but now I got to disappoint everybody else. And he's talking to himself about like, and they're like trying to figure out what Gonzo is. He's like, hey, he looks a little bit like a turkey. Yeah, a little bit. Not much, but a little bit.
He's kind of like a turkey.
But Gonzo has the song, I'm going to go back there someday, which has just the greatest line in it. There's not a word yet. Yeah,
that's what I was going to guess.
Yeah, there's not a word yet for old friends who've just met. That's a great line.
It's beautiful. I wrote it down, and I have little musical notes. Like that really, and it's kind of like an inverse in ways to the Rainbow Connection. It's melodically opposite in ways, and its words are opposite in ways, but the message is the same. It's
like they're meeting each other in the middle.
Yes. It's very cool. Like, I thought that was brilliant. I was like, this is really like next level songwriting or next level whatever.
And
it's really cool.
You know, I don't think of Gonzo as being the introspective one.
Right.
In fact, he's the least introspective.
What's weird about Gonzo is he probably has the most world weary like story.
Gonzo's always been the most angsty one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, because he's the weirdo, you know.
Yeah, he's always the outcast, even amongst the Muppets. Yeah, he's the one he's the weirdo. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's the one you can't account for what he is.
Right.
You know,
who's the Sesame Street Gonzo? I'm sorry, I can't remember. Like, this is going to sound really weird, but the one that's the superhero, I can't remember his name.
Oh, Grover.
Grover is kind of like the Sesame Street
Super Grover,
Gonzo in ways.
Grover's very overly sensitive.
But I kind of conflate those two's mentality a little bit. But Gonzo is like, he's Gonzo. Like, his name tells you.
His name is everything. Yeah.
His name tells you
the
what
Hunter
he
S.
is.
Thompson of the group. Yeah.
Yes. But I would say Grover kind of is in the Sesame Street.
Grover is very childish, though.
But the Sesame Street is a childish version.
I'm thinking of Elmo.
Oh, yeah.
No, well, Grover is.
You might be right. Yeah.
Yeah, Grover. I think Chuck is closer to to that. I mean,
it's like softened
Elmo,
edges almost in
it. Yeah, all of them are softened in except for Oscar the Grouch.
No, I'm looking at Grover right now. You're totally right. Yeah.
And Grover, like Elmo, is the childish Grover.
Yes,
it's
before he got thrown in, or like before life impacted him.
Yes.
Yeah. Elmo is a great, like Elmo. I was talking to this about Sarah about like the mantle of Muppets. Almost. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's a post Elmo Muppet. Like, he might still be carrying the load. I know, like Pepe Le Prong. Pepe Le Prong?
Elmo became like the most popular.
He's the mantle character. Muppet.
I don't get
now.
No, well, I can tell you, he's the one who's actually the. Because to me, my favorite
Elmo toy that did it.
Well, for me, growing up, I loved Bert and Ernie. I used to have little stuffed Bert and Ernie's.
Yes, love Bert and Ernie.
And I liked Cookie Monster.
Oscar
I liked Oscar. I love, and of course I loved Big Bird and Snuffleupagus. But Elmo,
exist. Stop.
No, he doesn't. I guess. But Elmo, what he is, Elmo is the viewers.
The count.
Oh, the count's great. But Elmo became the viewers' proxy. He's the little kid watching the show, and you're learning. The kids are learning through Elmo.
He's asking all the questions.
Yeah,
Elmo knows where you live. Sorry.
Oh man.
Probably my favorite line from any Simpsons episodes besides Jeebus. I don't even.
It's all the same. It's all the same episode.
That's the best episode.
Yeah, that's the keeper.
That is the best episode, right?
No, that's the poison. It's the Poison Frogs episode.
I'm not licking toads. It's the greatest episode of The Simpsons.
Oh my God.
For sure. Jeff, you'll have to tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the best.
Well, it's not my favorite, but it's pretty good. It's the
you probably like the chili episode or something. That season.
Oh God, I love
that's a great.
I do love the chili episode. That one is, I think it's 12. It's a little after 10, I think.
But that season is fucking insanely good.
My favorite season was like 4, 5, 6. The Conan O'Brien.
Oh yeah, that's good
that
stuff.
era. Yeah,
That's been a long time since I've seen that though.
yeah. They're all on Disney Plus. So get to
So
it.
around here is when, to go back to the moving right along.
Took it down.
This this is when the Electric Mayhem show back up.
Yep, because they could hear him coming.
Yes, they can hear him coming, and they're like, "How did you find us?" I don't even know if they say, "How did you find us?"
No, how did you know we were here? It's like,
They
well, we
found
looked in
them.
the script.
Yeah, we had the script, which is perfect. It's perfection, right?
This movie is comedy script 101. How to get to the rule of threes and how to bring things back from earlier in the movie.
Yeah, and it almost hits like every beat on the 30-minute calendar.
Yes.
Right? Like, I don't know if it's called the 30-minute calendar. I just made that up. But it really
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
It really does hit all of the moments on where if you took a class on how to write a movie, this would be like, at this point here.
Yeah. If your story is 90 minutes long, here's the diagram,
And if your story's not 90 minutes long, make it that.
Yes. Yeah. Tell the story and wrap it up. Because that's the other great thing about this movie is that as great as it is, and as much as I would like more, it is perfectly timed in the sense that it knows when the story is over and it gets out.
Yeah. I mean, if you wouldn't want more if it was any longer.
No,
you know what I mean? Like it understands that part of it too. That like, if we go too much longer than this, people are going to lose interest. Like Rain Man, which I love, is almost a 2-hour road movie. Yeah. And you are kind of like, hey, this is a road movie, fellas. Let's get to the point. Like, okay,
we got to get to the destination.
You can have a fart in a phone booth and we're cool. Like you can add a minute that way. Good.
Yeah.
But anyway, did you fucking fart, Raymond? Anyway. Uh-oh, fart.
So anyway,
go ahead,
I know.
Please.
I know. So basically this is when when Max flags them down because it's like they're trying to talk to I can't remember, is it Piggy who's trying to talk to Kermit in the back of the bus?
So.
And he's like, "Oh, motorcycle cop." And she's like, "What?" It's like, there's a motorcycle cop chasing us. And we find out that's Max warning them that, we've got the killer.
Dr. Teeth has one of the best. This is one of my favorite moments. Dr. Teeth is like, it's the fuzz, it's the man, it's the PI. Don't you dare!
That is really good. And he's like, I wasn't gonna say it.
So and basically Kermit's like, there's a town up ahead. There's a ghost town up ahead. Basically,
it's a Three Amigos ending.
Yeah, it's like meet there, and we'll have it out. Basically, and so they get into this town, and like there's something in the barrel that like goes crazy, and they're like, "Oh my god, what is with this town?" And that's when Dr. Benson Honeydew and Beaker come out to say, "Oh yes, we do science stuff here."
Great use of these characters.
Oh my god, I love these two.
They're not always great.
I don't know, man.
I always love Beaker. Beaker's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I think Chuck needs to tune into Disney Plus and watch more Muppet Show because they've done some great stuff.
No, they have. I said that I don't always love them. They're used to great effect here.
Yes, I mean because they're talking about like all their various experiments and none of them really work. But there's the important one, which is the growing formula. But they haven't figured out how to reverse it yet. And Beaker's like, no.
I have a question here because Sarah was thinking Viagra with these pills. Was there anything on the market at this time
I don't
Because I even told
No,
him, like,
but
I
there
don't
was-
think this is a dick joke, but I don't.
No, it
It's
isn't.
not.
It's
It's
what it was what I think it is a joke about like the concern of overpopulation and how to feed people.
Because
So there
one
was,
guy
I think
says,
there was,
what else does it make grow? And
right.
there's kind of like a,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's one for that might be the one for the adults taking the kids to the
Sure.
movie.
but that would be
the,
like kind of Viagra joke, I guess.
sure.
Well,
But
I mean, I'm sure that has always been a thing.
oh,
A hope.
yeah.
A hope. Yeah.
But I do think that this is like a hormone growth thing for like vegetables and fruits and stuff, because there was like in the 50s 60s and so there was always concern about like, well, how do we make more food? Well, we make the food we have bigger.
But it's also very simply an Alice in Wonderland
That too, yeah.
reference too,
But
right?
it's also Chekhov's pill.
And it's also animal's gonna get his.
you got animal in a experimental shop. What's gonna happen?
Yeah, it's like a bowl in a china shop. What do you think is
That's
gonna
what
happen?
I was trying to do. Yep.
Yeah. So Chuck, I think this is where you want to talk about a thing here.
Yeah. So we have the little showdown with Doc Hopper and Kermit. And
Kermit's wearing the cowboy boots, right?
yeah, he's it's
It's got a little holster. I think.
he's doing a showdown. He's going to do the 10 steps and draw shit, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's fucking high noon here in the Muppet Movie.
But then you get a little swell of Paul Williams' score, which is like country. I swear to God, when I was a kid, that this was played to the 2001 boom, 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 boom,
Interesting.
boom.
I know what you're talking about, but yeah, I think it was a different movie.
That's what I'm wondering. Was it a different movie? Because when Animal Grows, I remember him stepping almost.
No, he never left that building.
to the or imagining, I guess,
Yeah,
could have been
to the
him
timpani.
stepping to the timpani or the bass
Yeah.
drum or whatever. But it's not. It's just Paul Williams like country kind of fed score. But I am convinced. Like, you cannot convince me. I have not seen that. It doesn't mean
I think it's got to be in something else. But yeah,
But it's
I mean,
been like 40 years I've thought this. This isn't like a new thing, right? Like I remember his head coming out and hearing the boom, boom, boom. But anyway, forget about it. What we see in the movie is fucking amazing. And his scream when he comes out, that's like, it's perfect. And it scares Doc Hopper off.
yep.
And he's like, I'm not fucking with that giant animal. And I mean, that's animal. It's like all of our id, right? Like angry at the system. Right.
Yep.
Can we talk about fascism now?
Yes, go for it. Well, they already got rid of the fascists earlier.
Yeah, they did get rid of fascists. But for real though, like it is like a very like kind of powerful, the small guy can rise up and be a victor. It is a little disappointing that it's not Kermit.
Well, although Kermit is saying the right things leading up to that, which is together we are bigger than you.
But it wasn't enough.
But it wasn't enough. It wasn't
I'm with
enough
you.
to really show them that, hey, yeah, no, we really mean it. Now here comes Animal.
But Animal is kind of the literal representation of the bigness of the Muppets
Of
as
the
a
collective.
whole.
Yes.
Yes. So
Communism wins. The collective over the capitalists.
yes. This is our some height. Can you fuck with this?
Yeah. So yeah.
On the Muppet Wiki, there are 12 instances where also Sprach Zarathustra has been used across Sesame Street or the Muppets, and none of them that I can find were specifically featuring Animal.
Which is so wild to me because I'm convinced.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's the Mandela effect. For
I think it is.
Yeah, it is,
I really think it is a Mandela effect.
You must have had, you know what? I wonder if maybe you had a dream about that and it all like coalesced into that Mandela effect memory.
Maybe. I mean, it's a very like coalesced memory in my mind. Like it is there. And when the scene came up, I told Sarah, like, wait until you see this use of music. And then I was like, that is not the music.
And then you asked me privately, it's like, did they change that? I was like, no.
It's still
You're like,
really good
"Oh."
though.
Yeah.
It's still really good.
There's been a couple of times they've used it on Sesame Street when introducing a number or a letter.
Oh, that's great.
They used it for the number 11 once, and they used it for the letter M once, like the monoliths. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
nice.
cool. That's cool. That's
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that one went to 11.
Yep.
So, but anyway, so
Doc Hopper is scared away.
yeah, he's scared. That's the conclusion of that line, because the next thing we see, they've arrived at the movie studio.
Yeah.
And they go in, and we got our last two cameos. We've got Cloris Leachman, who is terribly allergic to just animals, and but at first, like, Kermit's leading the Muppets right up to the door of the big shot producer guy. And she's like, where do you think you're going? And he's like, well, we're come here to be famous. And it's so pleasantly like simple and naive. It's like, we've come here to be famous. And she's like, yeah, okay, yeah, no, leave. And then that's when they realize that she's allergic to animals. So they stand in front of a fan.
Oh,
They just shake dander
Did you mention
everywhere.
that's Cloris Leachman?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
And so she has no choice but to let them in. And there's Orson Welles.
Well, I like when Dr. Teeth off camera says, I'm allergic to cats.
Yeah.
Yes. I didn't know.
No, it was Rolf. It was Rolf.
Oh, it was Ralph?
was-
I
it was
thought it was
Rolf.
Dr.
It was Rolf.
Teeth. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
that makes
it's so
sense.
fun.
That makes
Yeah.
more sense, actually.
Their voices are very similar.
They're very similar, yeah.
And it's also off camera, so it's
Right.
So they go into the room, and they walk up to Orson Welles. I don't care what his character's name is, Orson Welles. And they're like,
Lou Lord.
Lou Lord, that's right. And they're like, again, Mr. Lord, we're here to be famous. And he looks at him. He takes a puff off his cigar, and he rings Miss Tracy, his secretary, and he's like, draw up the standard rich and famous contract.
Oh,
And that's
so
it.
good.
They're making a movie.
It's so good.
That's it.
Well, the standard rich and famous contract. I want one of those. Can I?
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be famous. Can I get the rich contract?
How long have I been doing this show? Like, this is what I've been waiting for. The standard.
Oh, the standard. Well, sadly, our guy Orson Welles died 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
30 years ago? Was it?
1986. His last role was as Unicron.
Unicron. Yeah.
Oh my God, yes. And he was so good as Unicron.
And he had no idea what he was recording.
It took him 5 years to record that audio.
For real?
No.
I mean, it was probably.
I'm just going back to my earlier joke about
Yes.
it took 3 days to shoot his scene. And
Well, he's
yeah,
no Marlon Brando.
I was going to ask. That's what I was about to ask. Was he worse than Marlon?
No, nobody was worse
he
than
was
Marlon.
drunk. That was his problem.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He was very drunk.
That's my problem, too. I will say we haven't talked
It's
much
the holidays. Let's get ripped.
Yeah, we haven't talked about holidays are all year, Jeff. We haven't talked much about those, like the bookends and the little middle.
Yeah. So
Them in the theater. There's one
go
thing.
right ahead.
There's not much to say about that other than the Statler and Waldorf beginning.
Oh my God! Yes,
fucking
we're here, we're here to. What do they say? We're here to. Oh, I can't. It's like
I didn't
basically,
even write down their jokes. I wish I did.
it
'cause
was
they're
something
very
like,
funny.
"We're here to." We're here to heckle. We're here to heckle the Muppet Movie.
Yes, and like it makes
It's
perfect sense.
like,
Good.
This movie's great so far. What hasn't started? No, that's why I like it.
Yeah. Oh, I love them. And
But there is one scene I wanted to, and why I brought this up. Sorry, Jeff. Is
no. Go right ahead.
is when Kermit looks to his nephew and he's like, this
I
is
love
the
his little
patriotic part. And his nephew's like, should we stand up? And Kermit's like, no. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, because at one point
also, like,
the
he
film
asks
breaks, and when the film breaks, because when they get that started back up,
that's
when
our
you said this is
Swedish
the
chef moment.
That's
Yeah.
the Swedish chef moment. It's like the film went to break a break.
Okay, he as a Muppet, at least for one of my children, which is 50% of the world, does not like the Swedish chef, which shocked me.
The Swedish Chef's great. Swedish Chef is great.
You failed as a father.
Yeah, he's great.
You were going to say something, Jason.
I was going to say, Robin asks Kermit, is this really how the Muppets got their start? And he says, it's sort of approximately how it happened.
Sort of approximately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Robin would have been a relatively new character at this point. Like maybe,
Or maybe
one of them
introduced in this movie.
I don't know. I mean, like, because Robin was definitely around sometimes on the Muppet Show. I know that.
He was on the Muppet Show, yes.
But
He
I
had
don't.
a few years after this to be in it. But yes,
Yeah.
I'm with you. I remember him from the Muppet Show for sure.
The one thing, there's a lot of extra cameos in this audience scene because the otters are there. The
Emmett Otter?
Yep, they're there.
Yep.
And then that's when you see the rest of the pigs from Pigs in Space. They show up to talk to Miss Piggy.
Holy shit,
the
Pigs
otters
in
being there
Space.
too is great because that's Paul Williams too.
Mm-hmm.
The music, yeah.
I mean, I would do an episode on Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, and that's a 30-minute.
Well, we can package that with the one that was just recently rediscovered that stars Robert Downey Jr. and Leslie Nielsen.
What was that?
There's one that Kermit introduced from like 1992. Kermit introduces it and then shows up later in it, but it's not like a Christmas Carol or anything. But it's similar. Like Robert Downey Jr. is like a rich guy, and Leslie Nielsen's his butler, I think.
Well, there's also
Muppet
Family Christmas from '87.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
We can package a lot of these together next year if we want.
You should. Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas is one of my favorite things ever.
I will send the one with Robert Downey Jr. Because it's on YouTube.
But anyway, they have a successful kind of reveal of their movie. It's funny how often this has been used in Hollywood, like Austin Powers, Goldmember does it, and other movies do it where the movie is the plot of the movie. The movie that's being made is the plot of the movie, and then there's a premiere at the end, right? We just did Ed Wood, which is kind of like that.
Last Action Hero.
Last Action Hero. Yep. But this delivered in every way for me. It gave me a lot of those feels of being a kid, made me think of my brothers, made me have fun with my own kid. Like it's a solid old school movie that still brings on the good feels.
It might be, in my opinion, the best G-rated movie of my life.
Isn't Babe G-rated?
Was Babe? I thought Babe was PG.
It might be. I don't know.
You would pick Babe first, though, right?
This and Babe would be like neck and neck. Yeah.
I thought Babe was PG, but maybe
It could be,
not.
but like certainly there. I mean, I know we talked about this before, where like there was always that stigma over G-rated movies back then.
Yeah.
This one really is probably.
Babe is rated G.
Oh, okay. This one is probably pretty hard G.
It would be a PG like these days, for sure.
Sure.
Do you think so? I don't know.
Yeah. I think some of the jokes and the frog legs and all that would maybe elevate it a little bit. I don't know. I feel like
the smoking is the one thing I think would make it a PG.
That's a good point. It's a very good point, really. Like,
other than that, I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, the MPA is really kind of harsh these days. ratings. I'm like, what? Like Beetlejuice would almost be an R.
But the MPAA doesn't usually like go after innuendo, and there's a little bit of that in this.
There's innuendo when you're innuendo.
Innuendo, yeah. But it'd be the smoking. It'd be the smoking. I think that's an automatic PG now.
Probably. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And Dom DeLuise. Like, he's
just in general.
He's an automatic PG.
Yeah.
That would be funny if certain actors, like you have Richard Pryor in this, that's an R.
Oh, was that a cameo? The person when Fozzie starts to tell the fat joke, and
I don't know if
and
that
the guy stands up and he's like, "Oh, really? How fat is he?"
I don't.
I don't
didn't
know.
recognize him. I did not recognize him.
That's a funny moment though, because he's like, he was a wonderful person,
and nobody had anything bad to say about him.
Bad to say about him.
And then they boo him.
I was cracking up about Fozzie being like him taking the hat off and being obviously bald. It's the most obviously bald Fozzie, like being an Italian or a Brooklynite or whatever.
Yeah.
Like struggling 50-year-old comic.
Well, yeah, I mean, he plays a cabbie in Muppets Take Manhattan, right? Which is perfect. It's perfect.
Yes. Yeah. It is. That he only is missing the cigar, probably. Right? Like, yeah. I need to go back to those. So we should cover a Muppet movie once every few years or year or whatever. Anyway.
We could make it a Christmas tradition. Who knows?
I just sent you guys Mr. Willoughby's Christmas Tree from 1995. That's that was a
long lost.
It was a TV special, and Kermit introduces it. Actually. It's based on a book, I think. So, yeah.
I do have to admit, I called the Muppets the Mupples twice during the episode, or when I was talking to my kid. I just kept saying Mupple instead of Muppet. I don't know why.
Well, you were a little drunk at some point in this movie.
Tipsy. I was a little tipsy.
Yeah, it's the holidays. What are you going to do?
High-proof bourbon is going to get you.
Yeah, it is.
You and Orson Welles.
Yep. I am Orson Welles. I just never amounted to anything before I became a drunk. Anyone have anything else? Or did it?
I don't know, man. I love this movie.
It's good. It's really good. I really like it.
I just knew I'd catch up to you guys.
He comes busting through the screen. Oh, I love it.
Fucking Sweetums.
Anyway. I'm glad we had a good talk about it. I'm glad you guys still liked it after all these years. I still like it after all these years. Good times. But we need to close the book on 2024.
We do.
Yeah,
we do.
And when we return on January the 1st, 2025. Can you fucking believe that? 2025.
That makes no damn sense to me at all.
I know. I had no concept of what 2025 was in 1995. No concept of it.
It means I'm a lot closer to 50 years old.
Yeah, I know. That's the one concept I know now. Yeah. And all the aches and pains and grunting and farting when you sit down. Yeah, anyway.
Speaking of 50-year-olds, or probably over 50-year-olds.
Next Chuck.
Week.
Oh, he's well over 50 years old.
Yeah, he's
coming 16. Up.
Chuck, you are curating the entire month of January again.
Yeah, there's no real theme to this.
Sesame Street theme.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of the Sesame Street.
Learn your alphabet.
Dun, 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 dun. Hey.
Moving right along. So next month, we're going to do a few kind of movies that I loved when I first saw and hadn't revisited in quite a long time.
Except for one.
The thing. Except for one.
But I saw recently.
I fucking loved it, and I haven't watched it since. Like, that's a movie I would watch multiple times normally. So next week, the first episode of the year is a Jack Nicholson-led vehicle called As Good as It Gets. And we're going to find out if that movie is as good as it gets.
Yeah, we will. And I have a feeling, Chuck, you told me privately that you had a feeling one movie would be mentioned.
Yes.
I have a feeling I will be mentioning a different movie that is related, but in a positive way. Tune in, help us welcome in 2025, all hung over as shit, taking care of a little dog that pisses everywhere. Trying to figure out if anybody really wants to make us feel like a better man.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So go to filmseizure.com. That's where you'll find all of the stuff about where you can follow us, where you can listen to us, and so forth. So yeah, January 1st, as good as it gets. This upcoming Monday, one last thing to do before the end of the year. I have one more Monster Mondays before we close out 2024. And it's kind of a significant one because it kind of closes out what is generally considered the Universal Classic Monster cycle.
Oh.
On Monster Mondays. And that is going to be The Invisible Man's Revenge. So filmseizure.com, all the same places you find that as well. This upcoming Friday at my website, bmovieanima.com, I have a review of Galaxina. Galaxina is a movie that could have been better. It was incomplete. So they ran out of money, and of course, sadly, Dorothy Stratton died too. A little shortly after it. But anyway. That is coming up on this Friday at bmovieanima.com. So until then, we will bid you adieu. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Merry Holidays, and whatnot. I am Jeff Arbuckle.
Moving right along to
Take it.
Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.